All right, guys. Can you hear me, Jeremy?
I can indeed.
There we go. I don't know what's going on, but it's always technology. We can blame it all on Mark Zuckerberg somehow, some way, I'm sure. So, well, thank you for joining us, Jeremy. For those of y'all that don't know, Jeremy Story is the father of 7 that is serves on the National Day of Prayer Board and is also chaplain of the Republican Party of Texas, who was arrested at his home in in Central Texas just the other day, where his wife and 7 children were threatened to also be arrested if he did not come out and allow them to take him into custody. What we're going to show you is the video clip. This is tongue-in-cheek for just a moment. The heinous video clip where Jeremy's story was wildly inappropriate. Please notice my sarcasm as we roll that clip. This is a good guy that has been absolutely wronged in many ways, and we're going to unpack that. So if we can go ahead and run that.
Okay. Our next speaker then is Jeremy Story. Mr. Story, you did write that you felt like you could speak about something other than D1 or D2. I would like to remind you, this is a special called meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not a regular board meeting. We are only taking comments on these 2 items.
And I will show you how what I'm about to comment on is related to that.
Mr. Story, are you able to
demonstrate that? Yes, I will. If you'll
No, I do not want you to demonstrate.
So you're not willing for me to demonstrate, Mrs. Weir?
I'm asking
I can show you how your resolution that you're debating today has absolute germanity to what I'm going to speak on. Are you saying you don't want to hear me?
The resolution.
Are you saying you don't want to hear me?
No, sir. I'm absolutely willing to hear you on D1 and D2.
Today I speak on the rule of law. I don't envy your choice today. I trust that most people value each other even though they're on different sides of the issue. I also understand the seriousness of the COVID epidemic. I understand the rule of law. Yet several members of this board and the superintendent have an utter disregard for the rule of law. Today you are considering thwarting the governor's order, the legislature, and the Supreme Court of Texas. This will result in tremendous fines to the district. Even today you violated the rule of law by putting officers in the back of this room in the difficult position of being asked to illegally enforce a last-minute violation of the Open Meetings Act. An agenda item today includes a resolution which includes 80% of the text concerns itself with the safety of public employees and students. The resolution being considered today includes statements like the Board of Trustees has a substantial public interest in protecting the health and safety of students and community, talks about supervision of the superintendent, and even other things related to public health and public safety. Several of you have demonstrated strong disregard for the rule of law. You consider public safety today by violating the Supreme Court of Texas. Still, more, our superintendent has a protective order filed against...
Excuse me, that is not part of
D1. You may not speak on that. You may only speak on the
He also faces potential... Several of his basic rights have been limited in order to protect public safety, yet you do nothing. I've sent you several letters communicating this to you, but you are ignoring me. So as a result, he's violating public safety. He's violating public safety. And now you're having your own police officers enforce it against me. This will result in a lawsuit.
Okay. Our next speaker then is Jeremy Story.
I think the video speaks for itself, doesn't it, Weston? I think we can't hear you. I think your mic is out. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. The mic, we can't hear you.
Hey, Jeremy, we're having some technical difficulties with Weston's microphone. If you want to just give us a a little bit of information on what happened that day, how you feel, and kind of.
Sure.
Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah, we
can.
can now.
Okay. All right, back in the chat. Sorry, guys. Technology is great. Jeremy,
Yes, sir.
tell us about what you experienced. I mean, it seems pretty rogue to me how they're acting.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically on the resolution that was part of the board agenda. It was the person in front of me was a constable who had spoken before me. He had spoken on the rule of law and public safety, just as I was in that video. I used an example that was very pertinent, that was about rule of law and public safety, about the fact that the superintendent has a restraining order against him right now for family violence under allegations that he assaulted his mistress, who he also got pregnant, with intent to abort a child in order to cover something up to preserve his job because he didn't want to lose his job. And before I could get to that, as an example, they pulled me out of the room because of the board president and superintendent's orders there. They simply didn't like my example about public safety and the rule of law. And you can't, yank people out of a boardroom because you don't like their example. You can't declare it non-germane and then use police to enforce your sort of weird ruling. So you also can't interrupt the person when they walk up to the dais. All these things were completely abnormal that night. No one else was interrupted before they walked up. In fact, there were several other parents that night who actually started to talk about the superintendent and talked about him for a little bit. Not a one of them was carried off. The difference was I had previously sent the board 2 letters with evidence showing them and indicating that I would provide more evidence if they wanted it, showing them that these allegations were out there and also showing them how they were complicit in actually covering them up. And a couple of them were actually complicit in aiding and abetting the assault in some different ways by informing the superintendent rather than dealing with the victim. So this is what I was arrested for, Weston. I'm glad to talk to you and other leaders across the state about that.
Well, and it's terrible. It's disgusting that this is what's taking place. When we see the travesty that our elected officials have allowed us to happen, we're walking up right now on the Texas Capitol.
You may not speak on that. You say
We're walking up right now on the Texas Capitol to do another press conference related to some other things taking place in the state of Texas. But you and your family have been absolutely run through the ringer. From my observation, this is public oppression at its finest. This is violation of the actual statutes that regulate police officers and what they can do. And I did some investigating. Apparently, this superintendent, he's got a history of doing this in the independent school district down in the valley that he was a part of as well. And these people are actually out of control with what they're doing, and these school board districts need to be brought back into control. And
agreed, because in this case,
Jeremy, and what you're doing is actually making sure that actually takes place. Again,
absolutely.
When we started this conference a minute ago, we're coming down 35, and now here we are at the steps of the Capitol, working on getting this all taken care of. Jeremy, give the people just some advice on how they can handle a situation like this, and what they should do if they encounter this type of tyranny at their school board.
Well, I mean, your school board can't use police force to silence you. Now, if they do choose to, my advice would be, don't resist the police officers. As you can see, I did not in that video. But at the same time, peacefully state your rights, because you have the right to do so. And we need to let people know and see this. When we back down and it never gets on camera or whatever, and we just let them sort of privately threaten us, which is what happened to me, then this never gets known. And what needs to be known is that you got certain school districts that have police like this, that are school district police. They're controlled basically by the superintendents, and it's like their own little Gestapo force. and there's no real check and balance on them. In our district, this police force is only a year old, and these officers were put in a very untenable position, which is sort of like lose your job or do what we say, right? And it's a very difficult situation. But the real bad actors here are ultimately the school board who allowed this, and particularly the board president and superintendent, who in this case are not just using unlawful police force, but they're doing it to cover up their own illegal actions, which makes it doubly bad. But what I want your viewers to also know is the video that they just watched actually happened a month ago. I was arrested last week over a month after this. I was not arrested that night. I was arrested a month afterwards, which makes it even crazier.
Well, and we're going to have a follow-up on this for all of you people that are watching, and share this video, because Jeremy's story could be your story if we don't stand together and stop these individuals from what they're doing. I mean, again, Jeremy, I know this is a developing story. Thank you for spending time with us to talk about this briefly. And again, you know, folks, if you think that we're not under attack at all levels in our country, you are wrong. You know, we've got a lot of people that try to say they need to have us moderating our message, giving up on our values, that they're, you know, not appropriate. And I tell you what, nothing can be more wrong. And Jeremy's situation that he's dealing with, how he's standing up for the rights of his family, his 7 children, to even publicly address our government officials, our elected body, shows to you how out of control these people are. So we want to just thank you again, Jeremy, and for all our people that are watching, get ready for some updates.
I want to make one more comment that's really pertinent to today. Today, this evening, the same board is trying to censure 2 of the board members because they disagree with them. And as a result, they're trying to tell those 2 board members that if this censure passes, they will not be able to step foot on any campus in the district. That's what the censure says. So 5 of the board members are trying to censure 2 of the board members who basically disagree with them. And as a result, tell them that they can no longer go to any campus in the district. That's what the censure resolution says. It's not even something that's private. You can go to the Round Rock ISD website for the board and look at the agenda and look at the resolutions. You will be amazed. It is seriously unlawful. And they just double down. They arrest me. They drag me out of board meetings. They also dragged another citizen who was a veteran. He was an ex-Army captain. And they drug him out of the board meeting as well and arrested him at the same time they arrested me. Not at the same time of the incidents, but they arrested us, last week. So if they can arrest an Army captain, if they can arrest a chaplain of the Republican Party of Texas and a minister for the last 30 years, they can arrest, these school districts could get away with anything. And we need to stand peacefully, but stand firmly and speak out about these things, or we'll lose the voice and right to speak out. That's what happened in places like Russia and Germany, was it seemed small at first and people didn't do anything. Oh, to go away. Oh, it was just this one time. And the next thing they know, they couldn't say or do anything, and all kinds of crazy laws were being passed.
Well, and we appreciate you very much, and we'll have you back on the updates, what's going to take place. That if you guys thought this was shocking and earth-shattering, when the updates come out, it'll all be primetime headlines, and you guys would have heard it here first. So, Jeremy, God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you for your time. Be blessed.
Always glad to talk to you.
Let's still hope that we can make Texas still represent freedom. All right. Thank you all. God bless.